fought in jungle warfare. So we, the officers, of course, appealed to the British for knowledge of jungle fighting, and they'd never ever fought before in the jungle. So we had to work out our own tactics. And just as an example, they realised that that the war would have been fought along the roads. So we used to march along the edges of the road. Then they decided that if we were attacked, they staggered us, a section this side, a section the other side, and staggered along the road. That's just one of the tactics that we worked out. Here we stayed there, or we went to another camp over on the coast. We were now the 22nd Brigade. We had
is that over on the east coast?
On the west coast.
On the west coast, thank you.
Can't think of the name of the place. But we were now a brigade, the 2nd 18th, 2nd 19th and 2nd 20th Battalions. Mm-hmm. Here we were there from March right round until or just before the war started. The Australian defence line was roughly a line across Johor. We were then taken. By this time, the 27th Brigade had arrived around about June. When the 27th Brigade arrived, they were the 2nd, 26th, 29th and 30th Battalions. Our commanding officer, Colonel Maxwell, was promoted brigadier, and he became the brigadier of that brigade. That made Colonel Anderson the commanding officer of 2nd 19th Battalion. We were moved over to the east coast because on the east coast there were very good beaches there where they anticipated the Japs would land on these beaches, but that didn't happen. We were, my company, Don Company of 2nd 19th Battalion, were taken north to a town called Endau. Endau was the border. On this side the river was Johor, on the other side was, I've just forgotten the name of it. There were 9 states in Malaya. Terengganu, I think it was called. I'm not too sure of that. Here now the Japanese were the masters of the encircling movement. They had landed in Thailand and sent a force down both sides of the peninsula. The main one down the west coast, and on the east coast just a token amount. But there we met them on the 14th of January 1942. We met them there, and there we had our first casualty. Then we were only there for about a fortnight. Now I was a runner, and I had to accompany the SIG, or the signaller, on this side of the river, and we were in contact with the platoon over the river, and the river was about a mile wide by Lamp. There were just the two of us, and it was the hardest work that I think I have ever done, because there had to be a pair of eyes on the SIG on the other side of the river 24 hours a day. So the SIG was Gus Heller, and Gus is still alive. Gus and I, Gus was a SIG. He knew the code for the signals. I didn't. I was a runner. But we tried doing it in 4-hour intervals. First of all, we tried 2-hour. One to watch it for 2 hours. But then we didn't get enough sleep. So then we tried 4 hours, and I think we were doing it at 4-hour intervals. I'd do 4 hours, and then I'd wake Gus, and Gus would do 4 hours. But we were in a house. The house was the I think it was the anyhow, it was the windows in the house had no glass in them, so we set up a chair with the SIG the other side, and his signals would appear right in front of in the square of the window. Well, now sitting back, just looking out there, that that went purple, it went yellow, it went black. It seemed to change colours because you couldn't take your gaze off the sea on the other side of the river. Anyhow, we were there for, we had our first casualties. The Japanese met, it was 17 platoon, Mr. John Varley's platoon, and Mr. Varley, you know, in World War II, lieutenants, you always referred to lieutenants as Mr. He swam the river, and for that he was given the Military Cross. I think he's still alive, John Varley. His father was Brigadier Varley, in charge of the, I think it was the 18th Battalion, and he lost his life on a ship on the route to Japan. So we were withdrawn from Ndao back to I just said that, haven't anyhow.
You didn't come back to Mersing?
Back to Mersing.
Yeah.
When we got to Mersing, the Japanese had driven, they had their main force down the west coast, because the west coast of Malaya was the developed side, the roads and the rail were all down that side. And they got to a place called Gimas. The 2nd 30th Battalion were there, and they ambushed them on a bridge. That was Colonel Blackjack Gallagher's battalion, with heavy Japanese casualties. So the Japs didn't. They just stopped there because they were the masters of the encircling movement. They just moved down to the south road, crossed the river, the Muar River at Muar by barge. There was no bridge. There's a bridge there now, and there they met the 2nd 29th Battalion. 2nd 29th were of the other brigade, and they cut them to ribbons because the Japanese had tanks and aircraft, and we had neither. So they then brought down the 2nd 19th Battalion from Mersing, and we were sent in to assist the 2nd 29th, but they had the 2nd 15th Field Regiment, the 4th Anti-Tank Regiment, the 2nd 19th Battalion now, and the 2nd 29th Battalion. They were the ones who fought the Battle of Muar. They gradually pushed us back and back and back until we got to a small village called Paratsalon. When we got there, now an order came through that Colonel Anderson was to be made commander of the, it was called West Force, and he, I can remember I had to run a message for him out to a group of the 2nd 29th Battalion. We formed a circle around this village of Paratsalon. It was just, he'd only just got this order that he was promoted to command the West Force, and he sent me out to a group of 2nd 29th Battalion, and in front of them were a group of 2nd 19th. When I got to the 2nd 29th Battalion, I found the officer in charge there, and I told him that he was to, I had to go out and find the 2nd 19th Battalion in front of him, and they were to be withdrawn behind him, and he was to become the front line. And he complained to me about that, and I said to him, "Sir, I only carry the orders, I don't deliver them." I said, I don't